Ben Powers is joining us. Ben is the headmaster of Eagle Hill School in Southport. Ben, thanks for a few minutes of your time. What is it that makes Eagle Hill unique?
Well, we're a unique school because we work with children who have failed to thrive in traditional learning environments. So these are students with identifications like dyslexia, kids who are struggling with comprehension, or kids who are struggling with issues with executive function.
And what is executive function?
That's a great question. So executive function has become very much a buzzword over the last decade or so. A simple way to think about executive function are kids who struggle with aspects of organization skills, initiation. Sometimes these kids are mislabeled as kids who lack motivation. So these are kids who may not be able to start a task, or once they start a task, they may not be able to persevere through it. So this is a kid maybe can't complete their homework or can't do a large kind of project. So in a school environment, you can imagine that's somebody who's going to fall apart pretty quickly.
And the students that go to Eagle Hill, they were referred, or they come from the traditional public schools, and then they come to Eagle Hill because, as you said, they failed to thrive. Is that where the majority of the students come from?
Right. So one of the hardest things about the kids that we serve at Eagle Hill is that they appear completely normal. These are kids who are well-adjusted socially. These are kids who are bright, intellectually capable kids. So they typically go into school really excited about school. The common theme is I always say to parents, how did your child do in preschool? Well, great. They loved school. But they come in from all over. They come in from public schools. They come in from the local independent schools. And typically they're either referred by somebody in their school or by a professional who has done the identification of a neuropsych or psychoeducational evaluation.
Now, what do you do in the classroom to help reach these students and help them thrive?
So we look at education very differently. A lot of students who struggle in school and end up in what's termed special education get what's called an individualized education plan. We create an individualized program for each of our kids. So the analogy I often give is the first time I ever took my wife to a Broadway play, I bought the cheap seats. We were way in the back. We were behind a post, couldn't really see what was going on. That's not the experience that our kids get at Eagle Hill. They get the last time I brought my wife to the Broadway play, which was we sat the second row back, and we could see everything right up close. So our classrooms have typically anywhere from 2 to 6 kids in them, and every teacher is fully aware of each student's profile. So we don't fill our school by grade. We place our kids by age with respect to ability. So we may have a student who's really good at math but struggling with reading. So we're going to put them in a lower reading class where they can get more help, and maybe in a more advanced math class. So it's really that focus on creating that individualized program and having that front row seat to their education.
And that extends out of the classroom as well?
Absolutely. So a lot of times the struggles we see with our kids with understanding directions or organizational issues, they follow the children onto the sports field, for example. So our coaches are also our teachers, and they're clearly aware of, for example, how to break down directions. One of the things that many of our students struggle with is giving them 10 directions. By the time they get on the bus, they don't have their sneakers, they're missing their uniform. We know with our students that we have to break things down and teach them to be responsible, independent, and how to advocate for themselves, but really how to reach them in areas outside of the classroom.
Now, I see also, I'm just looking at some of the information about Eagle Hill, 101 students ages 6 to 14, 24 teachers, and nine other staff. Also, what I was kind of surprised at, quite a bit of extracurricular sports and things like that. Do you find that helps the educational process for the students?
One of the issues we see with our kids who have come from more mainstream environments is that their self-esteem has really been impacted. For a lot of kids, learning to read is somewhat of a straightforward task. And so for our kids, when they can't read well, they start to question who they are. They start to question their intellectual capabilities. So we want to teach them to read. We provide evidence-based intervention to do that, but we also want to give them opportunities to discover and explore their strengths. I mean, we have top-class athletes. We have a young woman who is a great figure skater who competed on a state level. We have a young man who's an incredible hockey player. So we have these students who do these incredible things, and so we want to give them that opportunity on the basketball court, on the soccer field, or with a 3D printer, for example. So we want to help them discover what they're going to be good at in life.
Sure. And we know you have to run here. We do appreciate your time. But what should parents do if they think that Eagle Hill might be right for their student? What what's the step for a parent to take?
It's really straightforward. The best thing is to give us a call in our admissions office or drop us an email. We have open houses throughout the year. We have 2 coming up in July. And the most important thing for us is fit. We want to make sure that we're the right fit for the student and that the student is the right fit for us, because if the child is engaged in the environment, they're going to get so much out of it. So coming in to see this school is really the best thing that a parent can do.
Would love to have you back on and talk a little more about your mission. I know you're a little pressed for time this morning. And so let's talk at another time, maybe before these open houses in July.
Great. That sounds great.
All right, Ben
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Ben Powers, headmaster of Eagle Hill School in Southport. We're going to step out for a minute, come